Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to PRL Season 10, Round 3.
Fantastic. That was the fastest lap.
The Bahrain Grand Prix.
You've dropped down to P2.
You've just witnessed the first flyers for both myself and Maznat popping up as provisional pole at the time. He did pit me there. We were both in the 28.5s, I think. So, going to need to set a PB now to grab pole position for the first time this season. Notably, this was my first pole position of last season, so if history was to repeat itself, I may be able to snag first place in this qualifying session. We are currently purple, a very strong sector for me, the first sector, but it's the last sector that I really seem to struggle compared to other people. It'll be until then that we don't know really how well this lap will stack up. Boz are currently in P3 in that Force India. Not sure where Danny is. She needs to really improve because last time out in China, horrendous race, qualified in 7th in the wet and then came 10th due to some collisions and unfortunate luck. Should be a championship contender, so if she can bounce back here, that'll be fantastic for the team. Now, we're still purple. We just completed the second sector. This is big news because I don't think I've gone faster than the 28.4 and I'm well up on that on the Delta. So we're going to come around the final corner very soon and try to set our first pole of the season. Of course, if we can do that and replicate last season's pole, we might also be able to replicate last season's victory here at Sakia. Across the line, it's 28.3.
Just put in the fastest lap. Good job.
But Maznat was still to come. He actually started his flying lap after I finished mine. Unfortunately for him, a little mistake there. I think that may have cost him because as he came across the line, he was very close. Actually set to 28.3 himself. And as we look at the end screen, very close between the top four. 1.5 tenths. Danny unlucky to start only 4th with that time. Certainly her PB. OP Magic also up there within a 10th of pole in that Force India. And off the start, we've managed to cover off the Renault straight away of Maznat. Very important to get that launch. He looks down the inside but isn't able to get through. In fact, it looks like he may have been bottled up a bit. And in fact, Danny has taken him as well as OP. Now, this is a very strange incident. OP actually falls back out of the top 3. Not really sure what happened to him. Possibly lag?
Great work. That's a new fastest lap for the race.
Either way, you can see now that I'm starting to pull away, but Maznat was catching Danny. All of a sudden, though, Danny turned it on and set the fastest lap herself, and actually was completely outpacing me. And as you can see, we both dropped Maznat, so she was the fastest on track. I let her through because I was actually holding her up, it was quite obvious. I managed to hold on only because of the DRS really. She was a lot quicker throughout the rest of the track, and she ended up pitting on lap 9. We'd noticed that OP had pitted early, so we thought he might be two-stopping. Maznat also pit with Danny, which meant that he would get the undercut on me.
Okay, you only have to stop once now. One stop left.
And you can see that the effect of the undercut has worked for the Renault driver. He is through just. Slips it around the outside at turn 1. However, I'm not sure really what was happening here. Seems like I caught him napping really, because I was close, he didn't defend, and he seemed to brake a little bit earlier than I expected as well. So that move, a lot easier than I expected from a guy of Maznat's caliber. I'm not sure if it was an off night for him or something. Certainly this was the first race that he didn't completely outpace me. He did try and come back, of course. He's no slouch. And I defended to the inside, the DRS working well for him. He actually gets his nose in front, but I'm able to get the traction around the outside, and he must have clipped me a little bit there because he lost some severe time, possibly the back end. Now in the pits there was Bozza. He'd actually taken the lead. Force India working together, both two-stopping. Both of them undercut everyone obviously because they went in so early, but OP holding the field up for Bozza to try and make that strategy work. Interesting teamwork. It's fine, it's legal, but it gets a bit hairy as you'll see. Danny getting very frustrated. The net race leader, of course, trying to get past OP who's defending for his life. OP hard to the inside. Early on the brakes, I have to check up there, and Maznat, I believe, damaged his wing at that point. That was very unfortunate. Just a sort of concertina effect as OP slowed the field up. Obviously he's on older tyres, but he's also trying to slow up the field for Bozza. Now it looked like he was going to pit a few times. We didn't quite go into the pit lane. Here's another of those occasions. He went fully to the right. Of course, this is legal.
The gap behind us is 3.0 seconds.
Look back to the gap of HSV there, who's now in front of Maznat, who pitted. Quite a large gap, you think, but as this battle ensues, which I have a great view of, he would actually catch up. Very impressive stuff by Danny here. She's trying around corners which you really shouldn't be able to pass. OP forcing it completely off the track. Actually received a couple of penalties for this. And once again forcing her right to the exit. And then Danny in turn sort of understeers into him there. Once again around the outside she tries, but OP causing a bit of a collision there. I'm hoping that neither of them get damaged, because that would be really bad for their race, of course. She finally gets through after about half a lap of side by side with OP. But as you can see, the Sauber behind of HSV closing in. OP not done though, has the DRS and chucks it down the inside. More contact, actually forces Danny off once again. And this is crazy given that he has to pit and Danny doesn't. It had to come to an end at some point, especially due to the fact that he actually well overstepped where he should have gone in for his benefit. Needed to pit earlier to get out in a good position. Eventually he does pit though. I actually had quite a close look at Danny. This was as close as I really got to her though. She had the outright pace over me despite using a lot of tyre to try and get past OP. And I didn't really want to make an overtake. Any risk to the team would be just completely unnecessary basically. So early in the season. This was the closest I got with the DRS, but it wasn't close enough. And I ended up running quite low on fuel towards the end of the race. So I had to say with some lean. But that would be Danny's first victory since the USA last season. Not actually that long ago, but first win of the season nevertheless. 3 different winners in the first 3 races, Maznat, myself, and then Danny. She did a fantastic job there to stay cool while OP was out in front, not damage herself, and claim that 25 points, a great comeback from the previous week's calamity. Of course, the Sauber on the podium, HSV, first podium of the season for him, well done for that. Well, what an eventful Bahrain Grand Prix. Can only hope the Russian Grand Prix lives up to such a standard. I've been Jacko, see you then.